There
Okay.
we
All right, everybody.
go.
So we will just go through a few specifics for clinical one, and then we'll have some time for some questions. We don't have too much specific clinical one content. Um, so as you know, clinical one is kind of the foundational semester for preparing the intern to begin to assume the full range of teaching responsibilities and also to learn what the full range of teaching responsibilities are. And that's achieved by spending 15 or more weeks in the classroom while attending a seminar, which helps them have the opportunity to reflect on their development and also have the observations and get feedback. And so the handbook is linked here and I think has been sent to you all. So some of the intern responsibilities are to build relationships with the cooperating teacher, the students, and the school personnel during their first semester, to engage in reflection on learning processes, on how they're understanding student behavior. How they understand family and community influences. And I would also add to reflect on their own positionality, their own biases, their own ways of understanding and relating to both you and your colleagues, as well as the students and the family and the community that they're working in. And to start learning how to teach through co-teaching, through lesson planning, through assessing students, and starting to take the lead on some instruction. We certainly don't expect them during clinical one to be fully taking the lead, but to slowly increase their role and their presence in instruction, and to engage professionally in the community, to potentially to attend outside opportunities to help them understand whether it's meetings or family events and so on. Anything else on that, Gina?
No, I think that you covered it all.
Okay. Do you want to do this one?
Sure. In clinical one, interns should observe, assist, practice, reflect, plan, teach, and I'm sure there's others we can add to this too.
Yeah.
Um, but we encourage them to do all of these things, and then eventually, they'll be growing and developing and hopefully adding to their skills, adding to their toolbox. So,
Yeah.
okay. And
Uh,
then,
yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was also just going to add, I think most of the time our students do great, and we 98% of the time we don't have any big issues.
Hmm.
But I think it's worth saying, you're the person who sees the our students the most and how they're adapting, and even sometimes students who do really really well in their coursework over the years of their time with us at Montclair, being in the field is, full, to this extent is, they've had preclinical experiences too, but to this extent, can be different than what it's been so far. And they each have a team, obviously. They have their seminar instructors, they have their mentors, they have us. But if you do notice anything that, is concerning or that's really amazing, please do consider reaching out to us. We like to hear the good and also any concerns. I think the earlier we hear about things that are concerning, it is the easier for us to kind of talk to the students. And we are really proactive when things come up and when we hear from our cooperating teacher partners.
Hmm.
So, letting us know, letting Gina know as a first point of contact is helpful just so we can touch base with the students and make sure that we're on the right path.
Hmm. Yep.
So I just wanted to say that. And I think we pretty much have gone through this. So for the clinical one, they have to have 175 hours, as we said. The students are logging them in anthology, and then you're approving them. So you're not actually doing the logging, but you are at some point approving that, and making sure that, they're actually doing what they say they're doing. And so then, as we said, they're going to be teaching a minimum of 2 lessons. And this one does say that they can be a co-teacher. So I would just say having the student be the most active participant in the teaching is helpful for the observational purposes. And then it's helpful if the cooperating teachers can participate in the post-reflection meeting with the mentors. And then giving the students some opportunity during clinical one to perhaps observe other classrooms or speak with some of your colleagues, engaging in the school community. And then what it is expected for you to submit to us is a midpoint check-in and a final assessment of clinical one and a
Mhm.
final recommendation of whether you think they should move on to clinical two. And then the mentor will submit 2 observations and also a final assessment and a grade form. Um, so
Yeah.
then this is the other side is just so you all know what is happening during their seminar instruction, where they come together and they share, discuss, and examine the internship, reflect on how their experiences shape their work, discuss classroom management, make connections between what they're seeing and the theories we've discussed during their coursework and current ideas, and then preparing for clinical two. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah. Do you want to
Yeah.
say anything about the
Yeah. No, I just put in the chat. Someone had asked the midpoint assessment is due on October 17th. Yeah. And you should share that with your intern when it's completed. Um, and that also is a good tool for us. We look at every, evaluation, every assessment. And if there's any red flags, it's catching things early. And, like Jess said, it doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's great that it's, early in the semester so we can get everybody back on track.
Mhm. All right. Yeah, and so the mentors are will be the main people you'll see, and that will be consistent throughout the full year. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
and some of the things that the students are doing, they're also doing some assignments in their seminar courses, and the portrait of teaching and learning at the semester. So that's that. So any of these activities can go towards the 175-hour requirements. So it can be directly working with students, directly working with you. So it could be, having a check-in meeting before or after school starts, time working with or observing other folks in the school, preparing, but they have to physically be in the school. And they could be assisting you with lessons, grading, researching, writing, designing materials, especially during clinical one, right? None of this is bad activities to do as you're starting to understand the profession, assisting school with school events, or school events outside of school hours. Those all can count towards their clinical one hours, but we still want them to have a consistent biweekly routine, even if they're doing some of these additional things. So we really do want them to have 2 days a week that they're showing up regularly over the course of the entire semester.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. And I just put in the chat, definitely parent teacher conferences. That's a great,
yeah,
a great way for them to not only accrue hours, but to learn and grow. And so that, yeah, definitely. And someone else had asked about the midpoint evaluation. I believe it's sent in a survey form, not an anthology. I don't do it myself, but I will get back to you on that. Okay. Um,
And then, yeah, this is just a sample of what of it might look like in terms of observing and
mhm,
evaluation. So I know a lot of mentors have probably not done their first evaluation or observation yet, but they probably will be doing it in October, and then the second probably in November would be my
mhm,
guess. And
yeah.
then the dates for when the evaluations are due on here, and then you can get an idea of what um, the clinical two might look like, where there'll be four observations. And for each of the observations, pre and post conferences with the mentors are required. And it's helpful if you can be involved in those as well.